Hey everyone, I'm coming to you from my office to discuss the reading engagement opportunity assignments that are built into this course. As part of this video, I want to go over not only the guidelines for those assignments, but also a how-to on using the digital book in the course. And then some of the other options that you might have for readings, getting the readings done this term. And it doesn't have to be in the ebook platform. There are some other options built into the course. And then, of course, you have options for getting a physical copy of the text as well. Let's start by going over how to access the ebook and other ways that you can access the readings in the course. And then we'll turn our attention to the reading engagement guidelines. So let me share my screen, and I'll direct you toward our Canvas site. This is the instructor view of the Canvas site. And it looks a little different on your view, but otherwise the information is essentially the same. There's just more bells and whistles on my side of things. To access our ebook, you'll want to go to the Ivy Plus bookshelf link that's along the left side of the screen. And then the bookshelf is going to open here, and you will see that you have access to our textbook, the Norton Anthology of World Literature, Shorter 4th edition, volume 1. There's been a little bit of confusion on the actual title of the book. And if you go to look for it online, you'll see that there are different versions of it. The shorter edition essentially combines selections and highlights from the complete anthology of world literature. So for instance, you'll see I have here the Norton Anthology of World Literature, Volume A. This edition covers the literature from the ancient world up through ancient Rome. And our edition covers not only the literature of the ancient world, but also the literature of the Middle Ages and the literature of the Renaissance. And so our edition, it's called the Shorter 4th, and volume 1 is essentially an abridged version of what might be called, or what is called, volumes A, B, and C of the complete anthology. I know that that's probably a little confusing. Sometimes I'm not entirely sure why textbook companies do it like that, but you have the benefit, I guess. You have one volume, one in book, one front cover, one back cover, and lots of pages in the middle of the key texts from basically literature up through the year 1650 in the Renaissance in Europe. To access our book, then all you do is click Read Now. It will open into the Vital Source platform. And this is where the ebook is housed. And you can see that I've ended up on the page that includes Psalm 104 from the last place that I was. The book will open on the last text that you were reading. And you can see that when you are in the actual ebook, you can have some opportunities to provide notes, and we'll get to the how-tos of this in just a moment. A few things to take a note of with our digital book. First, look at the table of contents that's over here. You can see that we use the page numbers from the actual print anthology. Those are lined up along the right for the table of contents. It's organized by section, so literature of the ancient Mediterranean and the Near East, and then you can open it, and then you'll see collapsible sections for each of the authors or texts that you have. So we're reading the Epic of Gilgamesh this week, and you can see if you click Epic of Gilgamesh, it will take you to the prefatory material for the Epic of Gilgamesh, and you can learn about the text here, and there's some pictures and vocabulary information. And then you can click on the tablets, and you have the text right here. Note that you can count line numbers. If it's a poem, they keep those lined up along the side. If there's a footnote, you can click the footnote and it will take you down to the bottom. Now, here's the one thing that I don't like about the ebook, and I know one of these days this will get fixed, but it's not fixed in the best way at this particular moment. Look how the footnotes are the same size and same font as the rest of the text. They sort of blend in with each other when you get to the bottom. So if you are not going straight down to the footnotes, you're not clicking the footnote and coming all the way down here, and then you can click return to reference 1 and it'll take you back up where you are. Make sure when you get to the bottom of a particular page of the ebook that you understand where the footnotes are starting, and you don't try to read the footnotes as if they're part of the actual primary text. I'm sure that would be awfully confusing if you do it that way. So keep that in mind as you are going through and reading the text. If you need to make adjustments on the ebook for whatever reason, you can open up reader preferences. It's in the upper right corner. You can change the size of the text. You can change the font of the text as well. If you would like it to be, maybe you have trouble reading serif fonts and you want to read a sans serif font, you can change it in that way. Maybe you like this humanist font or an old style font. You have opportunities that are available to you. There's a night mode. If you would like to read this at night, and rather than having the bright white shining on you, you want to read white text on a black screen. But there's also a sepia tone and a cyan tone if you'd like to, tone it down just a little bit. You can adjust the line spacing if you would like to make the text not so compressed, or you can make it tight if you would like to make it tight. And then you can adjust the margins as well. How much space do you want that's available to you in the margins of the text? So this could be something that you could read on a tablet, or you could read it on a laptop, or you could read it on a desktop, if that's what you would like to do. This is what comes built into the course with the Ivy Plus program. So if you are part of the Ivy Plus program and you have access to the digital book in the course, that's a way to do it. If you are not part of the Ivy Plus program, you're not paying that per credit hour fee to get the books included with your course, you have a couple of other options available to you. Or if you are paying Ivy Plus, but you'd prefer to take advantage of another one of these options, I totally understand. So let's go back to the main course. And now we're going to click over into the modules section. I have uploaded for you a PDF version of the text. And you can, I'm just gonna dismiss this at the risk of the whole thing crashing for just a moment, but you can see that I've uploaded this very large PDF. It's more than 50 megabytes in size, but still probably an easy enough text to download. And as you scroll down, you can see that this is a facsimile or a replica of what the actual book looks like, organized around pages, organized in the Norton font. And when you get to, for example, footnotes, they are arranged in a much more traditional way on the page. So we'll let this take a moment to load and catch up. And then you can see how the digital text looks here. So this is an entire text as one single PDF, and you are welcome to download that for your purposes and read the whole text and have it available to open on an iPad or a computer screen or something, along those lines. Here, just to show you the sense of what the footnotes look like and how they're more clearly delineated on the PDF version. So that's another option that you have. Of course, another option still, if I can move the laptop for a moment, another option still is to get yourself a physical copy of the book. As I mentioned, you can sometimes rent these. You can buy them from the bookstore or rent them from the bookstore. You can get them from Amazon. You can get them from, a bunch of different places, local bookstores. If you have the cash, pay a little more, but it'll support the bookstore. I've mentioned in other videos, and I want to say again here, that I'm such a proponent of you getting a physical copy of the book, if you can. I know not everybody can, but if you can get a physical copy of the book, that I'd rather even see you, for instance, get a copy of the 3rd edition of the book. Now, the translations might not be the same and the page numbers aren't going to line up, but the texts themselves are going to be pretty standard in that way, because I think having a physical copy is a really great thing for you to be able to do. If you can't get a physical copy of the book and reading on the PDFs or the big PDF is not going to work for you, you have a couple other options. Let's go back to the module section. So we're going to scroll down to the reading engagement opportunity assignment that's listed here. So I'm going to click Gilgamesh on the reading engagement opportunity, and I'm going to switch into student view so I can I can show you what it looks like from your perspective. When you access the reading engagement opportunity, I have uploaded for you the PDF of the text itself. This is because it is a great way to fulfill the reading engagement options. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few moments. But if you would like to download a copy of this PDF for yourself, for the purposes of the reading engagement assignment, just come over here to the upper left corner, and you can see there's a download button, and then click that, and it will download the PDF to your desktop or to your device, and then you'll have just the pages that are being assigned for that reading, as opposed to the huge PDF file or the text or the digital text. So now I'm counting the Vital Source ebook, the physical book, the entire PDF, or the PDF selections. So 4 possible ways to get a hold of the texts for this course. And you will decide which one I think is going to work best for you. Once you download this PDF, if you have access to a printer, by the way, you can then print it and have a physical copy. You could go to your local Ivy Tech campus and print it, or if you have a printer at home, or if you have a printer at work, and you can actually print it off and have a physical copy of the PDF if you'd like to do it that way. Okay, so that is the overview on the basic mechanics of how the ebook works, where to go to find information related to the multiple opportunities that you have to read the text in this course. Let's talk about the reading engagement guidelines here in just together. I do want to go over these in depth. And the reason that I want to go over them in depth is this is a large percentage of the final grade. It essentially replaces what might have been like short papers or short writing assignments, and instead moves that analysis process of text, moves it onto the texts. So the reason that I have chosen this is sort of a 2 birds with 1 stone philosophy. So one way that you can do a literature course is I could give you a text to read, let's say Gilgamesh, and I say, go read Gilgamesh, and you would read Gilgamesh carefully. And if you are using the critical reading skills that you've been taught in college, you would, mark up the text as you go, highlighting important passages, making comments off to the side, writing questions, sharing your reactions, so on and so forth. Then you might come to class and we'd have a discussion about it, or maybe before the discussion, I would ask you to take a quiz about the text to sort of confirm that you did the reading. Or maybe before class, I would ask you to write me a reading response to the text, where you would have to select some idea or some concept within the text to write about it. The problem is that the quizzes and the reading responses, or an exam, even like a proctored exam that would, test whether you've done the reading. The problem with those is that they aren't actually reliable measures for whether you've done the reading. I remember being a student myself, going to class, having read the text for the class, but then when we got together, feeling anxiety come over me in the form of a reading quiz and not being able to recall what was being shared, or not being able to word it really well, or running out of time because we had discussions that we were going to be doing, and these were timed quizzes. And I was afraid that the professor was thinking that I wasn't doing the reading, when in reality, I just wasn't doing the quizzes very well, or I wasn't engaging well enough. Or I would read the text and I'd want to focus on the wrong things, or I'd read the text and I wouldn't really understand something about it, and I'd want to ask questions in class, but then the reading quiz is happening. And yes, I've done the reading, but no, I didn't get it. And yes, I want to talk about it, but now the reading's coming for the reading quiz is coming first. It can be a mess. By doing reading engagements, what we are going to be able to do is you are going to be able to receive credit for doing the readings while you're doing the readings. That's what I mean when I say two birds with one stone. You're going to get credit for the readings at the same time that you're going to be doing the readings. So this is a literature course, and the literature is front and center. So why not make the literature front and center? So in this course, we'll spend a significant amount of time and energy engaging and interacting with texts and interpreting them. You will demonstrate your engagement with our texts by annotating them. Annotating is marking the texts and writing on the text as you read to capture your real-time responses and the work of your reading mind. I'm interested in what's going on in your mind as you're reading, and I can get those insights when I look at your annotations. Annotations are something that all critical readers should be doing. So my philosophy is that instead of asking you to perform additional work, you might as well get recognized for the academic labor you're already performing, right? Let's try to keep this a busy work-free zone. In his classic text, How to Read a Book, Mortimer J. Adler argues that annotating a text is, quote, indispensable to reading it. Annotations keep you awake. They keep you engaged. They are expressions of your thinking. They help you remember not only what the text is saying, but also what you thought about the text as you were experiencing it. And when you fully annotate a text, you often end up with a much better idea of what the text is trying to communicate. I've had students in the past say to me, it takes longer to read when I'm annotating, but I get more out of it. And that is exactly what I hope you are going to be getting out of this class. It might take you a little longer to read than you would normally read, but I hope you're going to get more out of what you're reading by annotating as you go. There is no singularly correct way to annotate. Although I'll take that back just a little bit. Annotating is not just highlighting. And I want to make that clear. It's not just going through and selecting the text. Annotating is a combination of marking, which can be underlining, circles, boxes, stars, highlighting, etc., and the writing on the text. So when I say there's no singularly correct way to annotate, that assumes that you're doing both things, right? Marking and writing on the text. But there's no every page should have the following thing annotated process to it, right? Our annotations are all going to look different. And that's great because we're all going to experience the texts in different ways. Certain elements might stick out more to you because they speak to you at the moment in your life that you're reading the text. Other things might stick out more to me because I'm looking at it like a literature professor, and maybe I want to talk about the metaphors that are being used on the discussions area with you. If you don't have a system in place, you're going to develop your own, right? I mean, that's perfectly fine. And your system might grow and evolve as the course continues. My annotations differ if I'm writing in a book, if I'm writing on something that's a photocopy or a printout, or if I'm digitally annotating, right? They all look different. When we talk about annotating, though, some of the following things are common, right? Underlining important passages or forceful statements or key ideas. You can draw vertical lines or brackets in the text. Here's an example of that. This is from a text that I taught in the spring term. and I annotated as I went through. You can see I've got a vertical line here, sort of marking out a large number of lines that I think are really important for some reason. And then as I've marked them out, I've written a comment on the side as to why I think it's really important. You can use stars, you can use asterisks, you can use exclamation points. I'm trying to find an example of stars or asterisks or exclamation points. None are coming to mind immediately. You can circle. You can draw a box around something if it's really important and you want to draw attention to it. You might want to mark out what are called exemplary moments. These are scenes or lines or actions that are really important in the text. And then you might want to say, you know, important, the moment the hero and the villain fight, or important, a turning point, or the character realizes something, right? When you annotate, you can write in the margins. These could be simplifications of what's happening, right? A really important moment in the text, and you might write, for example, as I did here, this is from Homer's Iliad, the annotated copy of Homer's Iliad, right? Achilles seeks Greek defeat for dishonor. This one over here says, Achilles prays to Thetis. This one says, long speech of Achilles to Thetis. Just kind of, here's a big thing that's happening, and I want to be able to mark what is happening and where it's happening in the text, so that if I'm going to come back to the text, I can find it pretty easily. You can also ask questions in the text. If you don't understand something, put a question in. That can be really helpful for fueling your discussion board contributions. You could share your response to the text. If you think something's outrageous, call it outrageous. If you think some character is being sexist, call them sexist. You can connect something to another course that you've been studying or another text that you've read. You know, maybe a text that we're reading reminds you of something else, and so you want to draw a connection there. You can challenge what the author has written. I disagree. You know, the author thinks this is heroic, but I think it's not. Or the author thinks that this is bad, but I don't think this is as bad as the author thinks. You can identify and explicate literary elements. You can mark symbols, or you can mark metaphors. You can mark beautiful poetic language that you want to talk about later. You can talk about the moment when you felt high emotion in a text. You have free rein for these annotations. Your voice is what I want to read. Your voice is what I want to hear. So you can use slang, you can abbreviate things, you could curse, and I think it's kind of funny sometimes when I see that. You can draw connections to your own life, right? So this is you and the text. And all I'm doing is recognizing the labor that you are performing for our course. That's the core of what this really is. You can also, and I really strongly recommend this, write a note at the end of the text. Right after you're done reading it, write a paragraph or two that kind of reflects on what you think about the text. I think that's a really great way to help remember the text as you go through. And those paragraphs at the end of your readings, those will be so helpful as you work on your final paper, which is an analytic paper that encompasses the entire semester. So if you have those notes at the end, it's going to be really, really helpful for you to be able to write that paper if you can remember what you thought in real time about the text that you were reading. The best annotations are going to include a combination of these 7 strategies to varying degrees, right? I want to emphasize that as long as you're doing some kind of combination of marking and recording your thoughts, there's no singularly correct way to annotate. Everyone's annotations are going to look different. That's okay, right? I want to emphasize that, because sometimes students get a little anxious, like, oh, am I marking the right things? Am I responding to the right things? And that's going to depend on how you are interacting with the text. Now, my hope is as your annotations continue throughout the semester, they get better and better and maybe more finely tuned to the literary elements in the text that we're reading. But that's a conversation for a different video about how the annotations are growing in terms of your skills. So let's talk about assessment. How are you going to be assessed on these? Essentially, I believe the goal of any literature course should be to read great works of the human imagination, to reflect on the ideas, to understand the forces that shaped the authors, that shaped the audiences, how to appreciate art, how to engage in thoughtful discussions about the insights that the works can give us. And the best way to do that is to put the text and you front and center in the course, not to put necessarily writing front and center in a literature course. Writing is a way of assessing, but it's not the only way to assess a literature course. Ideally, every page of the primary document is going to be annotated to some degree, right? Now, that could vary depending on the text itself, right? So, for example, here's the one that I shared from the text that I annotated, the reading that was in another Norton anthology with the Iliad, right? You can see this one's marked up more. There are more markings on this page. I can flip over and there are some on this page, but there are less. That's okay. Ideally, every page is going to have something on it. But, you know, on the longer readings, there might not be anything on a page, right? Here's an example of a page from the Iliad that, for my teaching purposes, this one page didn't get anything commented on it. This page only got a couple of things commented on it, right? Obviously, there are some elements of the literary text that have more important activities than others. Then, you know, turn the pages, and here's one that has a lot on it. So it's going to depend on the text itself. But you know, one or two comments on an entire text are not going to be enough. You're going to want to do more than that. Ideally, as I said, every page is going to be annotated to some degree. Not every page needs to be equally annotated. Some readings might have passages that are blank. That's okay. If you're really doing the careful reading, though, if you're really looking at what's going on, I think you'll find something on every page. That's kind of the point of our course, is to help you become a stronger, more critical, more attentive reader. The way these are scored is essentially a half point per page. So if in the Norton Anthology, the reading is 20 pages, that's 10 points in the reading engagement category, half point per page. Most of the annotations you submit are either going to be marked complete or incomplete, right? You either done the work or you didn't do the work. I reserve the right to assess you at a partial complete. So if you turn in something but it's not done, I might give you partial credit for the work that you did and invite you to finish it at a different time. Or if you turn it in and it's not really up to the standard that I would expect it to be, I might give you the partial credit for it and then give it back to you and say, this really isn't where it needs to be. You have absolutely the opportunity to add more to it and to resubmit. Altogether, this category is worth 35% of your final grade. It's going to be most of the work that you're going to do in the course, right? There are discussions and there are some quizzes and there's the paper, but most of the work is actually going to be reading the literature and getting the credit for having done the literature by marking it up as you go along. There are lots of ways that you can submit. There are, you know, we talked about 4 different ways that you could read the text. So there are different ways that you can submit the text. Okay, let's walk through what those options are. First, there's the student annotation feature that's built into the assignment. So go down to the REO assignment in each week. Reading engagement opportunity is, of course, what REO stands for. Click the text. I'm going to switch into the student view so you can see what it looks like. The student annotation feature opens here. And the text, the PDF of the text is included. At this point, you can, if you want, click the diagonal arrows and enter the full screen. I like the entering of the full screen here because it moves everything else out of my way and I can just focus on the text that I am annotating. It helps me focus when I don't have things dinging in the background or when I don't have updates happening in the background or notifications coming in, and I can just focus on the text itself. The student annotation feature in Canvas is actually pretty cool. And it's a relatively new feature that's been created inside Canvas. So you have an arrow here, right? And just as you normally would. You can zoom in and out. You can skip forward on the pages. As I mentioned earlier, you can download the text if that's what you want to do and have a downloaded PDF as well. As you go through, you can click the buttons along the top and continue annotating. So one of the buttons is the comment button. So you can see you've got this comment button. You can change the color. If you want to change the color, I'm going to make it yellow. And then you can say here, chapter 1 of Genesis, when God began to create heaven and earth, you might leave a comment. This translation is different than the one I'm used to, right? I'm more familiar with the King James Version. And then boom, you've got a comment right there. Or you can see, the earth was then welter and waste and darkness over the deep and God's breath hovering over the waters. God said, let there be light, and there was light. And you might say, really interesting. How about welter and waste and darkness over the deep? Really interesting. This imagery is similar to other ancient Near East creation accounts. But why? Maybe that's all you want to, I'm sorry, I'm doing this in real time. So I'm trying to think of something interesting that might not be related to what I actually think, but just to show you how the comment feature works. You can also come up here to the highlighter feature. And when you highlight, you can literally select passages of text and boom, it's going to create a highlight. You can then click the little thing next to it if you want to leave a comment associated with the highlight. Earth and sea creation, and then you're done. Okay? If you would like to write comments with the text, you can do that too. And as you write, you can change the size of your writing, you can change the color of the font, or you can add background colors if you would like to add background colors, right? Sorry. There is a parallel structure to creation. Okay. I can add this. I can add this here as a comment on the side of the screen if that's what I wish to do. You can also strike through annotations. You can free draw on annotations. So if you would like to, for example, circle something, right? You can add that as an idea, and then you can write a comment, creation of the birds. And then you've got that as a comment. You can also go through and you can see there are little trash cans, and you can delete annotations if you would, you decide, I don't like that one, I'm going to delete it. Or am I sure that I want to delete the annotation? Yep, I want to delete it, and it'll go away. Not a problem. There's also an option here to area. So you can draw a box around something if that's interesting, and then that comes with an automatic comment creation as well. So this feature, I think, is an amazing document, and you can use different colors. Maybe your boxes are going to be blue, maybe your highlights are going to be gold, and you can absolutely move through very well, annotate the whole document. And then when you're done, what you would do is you would come down here and you would click Submit Assignment. I've been told by students who have used this in the past that if you step away from the reading project and come back, it will save your annotations. And then you can finish doing the annotations. And then when you're done, click Submit Assignment. Okay, so that's one option that you have for submitting your reading annotations, is you can use the student annotation feature in the REO assignment. Personally, if I didn't have a book, that's the option I would pick. You have the freedom of choice, though. I don't mind whatever system that you would like to use, that's okay. But if I didn't have the book, I would be using the student annotation feature in Canvas Ivy Learn. But you have other options, right? You can also go to the e-reader itself. So let's go back over to the e-reader, and then you have a few options in how you would like to annotate this too. There's a button up here. It looks like a little notebook with a star, and you click that button, and it will allow you to see annotations, highlights, and notes. You can select the default color that you would like to annotate in. And then you can also insert comments and notes as you go. If you were to work with this in the e-reader, it's really simple to just highlight the thing that you would like to comment on, and then you can click Add Note if you would like to leave a comment, or you can share the color of your annotation. The shared annotation highlight function is the one that looks like there are little people inside it. And this is really important because one of the options that you have for annotating is you can just give me a link to your ebook text. And then I can click on the link and go in and look at your annotations that way. But I can only see the ones that you, the highlighted colors, if you use the default color that has the people inside it. Now you can change this. If it's like green is the default and you don't like green, you can change the default to yellow or purple. If you would like it to be purple, or create a new color, you're welcome to do that too. You can also click Add a Note and then leave a comment if you would like. And we'll just click Add a Note and you can see what it looks like. Mother of Gilgamesh is Nin's son. Yep. Great. And then as you scroll down, you'll see your annotations off to the side. If you would like to simply export your annotations, you can click Export here, and it will allow you to convert your notes and annotations into a PDF. And then when you go back over to the REO assignment, you come back over to the REO assignment. When I go Student View, see, it saved my comments here. But if you were going to export as a PDF, you would then click File Upload, upload the file of the PDF that you exported out of the Yuzu reader. As I mentioned, you can also share your comments with me. And you would simply come over here to Reader Preferences. This is where you can set your default colors, your which one would you like to be your public color. Mine's set up to be yellow. And then sharing. Then you can see copy, share, link, and give me the link. And then I will be able to access your text. Now, I have not gone through and entered all of your emails into the text, but I'm going to do that so that if any of you choose to share through the function here, you will give me access to your text and I can quote unquote follow your highlights in that way. And then when you go over to the REO assignment to submit, you would then come to the text entry box. And then this is where you would input the link. You copy and paste and say, please click here. And you can access my live annotations in the Yuzu reader. I think the user reader, the vital source software, it's pretty good. It's got some interesting options built into it. I was a little ambivalent about the footnotes and the way that the text was formatted, so it's not my favorite way to read it. But if it is your favorite way, or if it works for you and your work structure and your process, then I want that to be an option that is available for you to use. Another option is, as you go through making your annotations and whatever, you can take screenshots of the screen that you're working on and then upload the screenshots for me. That might be a little cumbersome, especially on the longer readings. You might be like, oh gosh, there are a lot of screenshots that I'm going to have to upload if that's the case. And I get it, so that might not be an option, but it's an option that I've put here for you to consider if you want. You could download the PDF and you could open it up in third-party software like Mac OS Preview or Adobe Reader or Google Drive. And then you can save the document, save the PDF that you've downloaded and marked up, and then you can re-upload that PDF to the REO assignment function. And that will allow you to submit annotations to me that way. Finally, if you are using my favorite technology on earth, the printed book, and you are going to be annotating that way, if you own the book, I welcome you to maybe, I find with these like onion skin pages in the Norton Anthology, you might benefit by using a pencil rather than a pen. But if you would like to mark up the pages in the anthology, or use Post-it notes, if you're borrowing the book from a library, or if you're borrowing the text from the bookstore and you don't want to write in it, you're allowed to do that, by the way. But if you don't want to write in it, I understand. And you can then use maybe small Post-it notes or little stickies inside the text. Or if you want to print the PDFs and mark them up with a pen, then you can either scan in your annotations if you have access to a quick scanner, or you can take photos of your text if you would like to do that. There is also a really great function that comes, and I know Android does this as well, but I happen to have an iPhone. So I know how to do this specifically through an iPhone. If you go into your Notes app, the Notes app on an iPhone, there is a button in the upper right corner that is a circle with 3 dots, and you click that. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe not a circle with 3 dots. Let's see, where is it? Can you tell I should have prepared for this particular moment in our video? Apologies. Oh, sorry. It's not the circle with the 3 dots. It's the camera icon. Click the camera icon, and you can see that you can either take videos or scan documents. If you click scan documents, it'll pull up the camera on your phone, and you can hold the phone over the image, snap the picture of it, and it will actually turn it into a PDF for you. And then you get to the end of the cycle, when you've scanned in all the pages, you can keep scanning pages and keep adding out longer and longer PDFs. And then you can upload the PDF as a file to Canvas to get the credit for it. Totally your call. If that's what you want to do, you can continue to add options. And I want to say, too, that the purpose of these reading engagements is to encourage you to read thoughtfully, thoroughly, critically. And I want to honor that labor, and I want to recognize the work that you're really already performing in a literature course. So the point of this is not to give you extra work. The point of this is not to make it harder for you to submit things to get credit. That's why I've given you lots of options, because I want you to pick the one that is most consistent with your work style, and your approach to completing work for college. Some people really like reading in books. Some people really like reading on the screen. Some people really like downloading and using a stylus. Some people like doing the work in the student annotation feature in Canvas. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. If none of this works, if you have a different idea for how you would like to go about getting reading engagement credit for the text that we're doing in the class, I'm open. I have an open mind, and I encourage you to reach out to me and we can talk about your options and maybe come up with something that's going to work well for you. So I'm flexible. I want to ensure that you're getting the most out of the course and the readings. I recognize that that might be different for the individual, and therefore want you to know and to have affirmed that I'm open if you would like to talk about these things further. That provides the overview of the reading engagement opportunities for this course. If you have any questions on how to access the ebook or the different versions of the text that have been made available to you, or how to complete the reading engagement opportunities or the expectations around them, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one on Zoom or answer an email. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the course.